All signs point to the Vancouver Canucks making even more players available, as a recent report came out from NHL insiders revealing the Canucks and Patrik Allvin has made one of their goal-scoring wingers available for trade heading into this year's trade deadline. But not only that, with one Canucks prospect just coming off Player of the Month in December, we get a huge update as this forward continues his hot streak into January. We're going to break down so much on this prospect, so much reports on a new player the Canucks are actively looking to move, and so much more in this episode. Now, before we get into these reports on the Canucks player that Patrik Allvin is reportedly shopping, we're going to dive into this prospect that just came off Player of the Month in December. Now, looking at this, Riley Patterson remains scorching hot. With another goal, he's now third in the OHL with 50 points in 36 games. Once again, go shout out to Dave Hall and check out all his work. He does an incredible job on Twitter covering everything to do with prospects. But Riley Patterson is a name that a lot of Canucks fans should start to know. Now, with Riley Patterson last year with the Barrie Colts, 62 points in 68 games. We do see the year after that, 59 points in 64 games. And this year with the Ice Dogs, after being traded in the offseason in the OHL, 50 points in 36 games, including 23 goals. Now, with Riley Patterson, the first thing I want to touch on is the fact that he's continuing to be red hot. This forward is a name, and not only because we all want to see the Patterson, but with Riley Patterson just coming off a Player of the Month in the OHL, the Patty Party rolled on. We could see over the month 19 points in 11 games. This is a prospect that a lot of Canucks fans should be getting hyped up for. Once again, the Canucks drafting staff has done a great job. A 4th round pick in 2024 is coming to life in the OHL. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this is a guaranteed player to crack the lineup in the future, but he's going to make the jump to Abbotsford very soon, and seeing him how he performs in professional hockey is going to be outstanding. I also want to give a shout out to one player, and that is Gabe Sherratt as well. Since going to the Kitchener Rangers, only 1 point in 3 games, but Gabe Sherratt with 29 points with the Brampton Steelheads before being traded is now just 9 points off, getting a career high in the OHL as well. So seeing the Canucks continuously get them gems, 2025 6th round pick. We know Riley Patterson is once again a 4th round pick. There's so many names within the system that it's going to be interesting to see the future on this team. But go down below and let me know your favorite prospect within the Canucks. Is it Riley Patterson, Gabe Sherratt, Medvedev, someone we haven't touched on? Let us know all your thoughts down in the comments. But with that, let's just dive straight into these reports today, where we're getting 2 different reports coming from NHL insiders linking Jake DeBrusk as a possible candidate to be the next on the move. Now, coming from Vince, he shared a report from Chris Johnson going in on the big board 3.0 heading into the deadline. Now, there's a lot of names on this, Kiefer Sherwood being the top of the list, of course, as every team is actively trying to get the forward. But now going into this at 15, we do see Jake DeBrusk. Now, Jake DeBrusk is very interesting. A pickup by the Canucks from the Boston Bruins. We've seen a lot of life from DeBrusk. Now, listen, he goes on his dry spells. We know the scoring streaks. But the big thing with Jake DeBrusk, in year 2 of 7, 34 years old, at the end of a deal in 2023, or 31, where we're going to see the Canucks forward hopefully progress season after season. We've seen a drop off in recent history with Jake DeBrusk, especially heading into the season. Now, last year, Jake DeBrusk scored 28 goals. The year before, 19 with the Bruins. We did see the career high of 28 goals. It felt incredible. Jake DeBrusk with 48 points, as I said, a very streaky winger. But heading into the season with only 11 goals and 10 of them coming on the power play, the 5-on-5 production has not been there. Yes, he's looked great, and we're going to touch on that top line, but it goes into Darren Dreger, where he spoke on this as well. I think Vancouver would like to move Jake DeBrusk. He does have trade protection, but it's maybe not as cut and dry as some would think. Now, with Jake DeBrusk, he does have trade protection with the Canucks, but with the forward, it's going to get interesting. We know the Canucks are looking at the hybrid retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But the big thing with the Canucks, they're going to move on from a lot of guys. We've seen the reports, the headlines coming from Elliot Friedman, that all UFAs will be hitting the market. Of course, these are a lot of guys like Kiefer Sherwood, of course, Teddy Bluger. We thought Derek Forbort, but his maintenance day turned into season-ending saying this is a team that's going to actively trade a lot of players, but now seeing Jake DeBrusk pop up, it's going to be a huge return if the Canucks can move on from Jake DeBrusk. Once again, this is a guy that's struggling this year. The Canucks are struggling as a whole. 5.5 is a very good contract. We're seeing a lot of guys. Elias Pettersson, who just made it into the NHL as a full-time forward, got $2.5 million. Now, with the cap jumping 10 mil each season, that 5.5 is going to look a lot smaller as the years go on. But the big thing with Jake DeBrusk, his scoring has dropped. The Canucks as a whole have dropped. As you can see, the 6th lowest scoring goals for per game in the NHL, the LA Kings, the New York Rangers, which is hilarious, the New Jersey Devils, Calgary Flames, St. Louis Blues, the Canucks being bottom 6 in the NHL in goals to win. It does hurt Jake DeBrusk in the matter of getting production going. Now, Jake DeBrusk, who was scratched and looked good since returning, we know is a player that was on a short leash for a bit. Since returning, we can see that he had 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 total points. Of course, the goal coming on the power play. We can see another goal versus Buffalo where they did lose the game on those 3 straight losses, where we do see Jake DeBrusk with, once again, a power play goal. Jake DeBrusk is an incredible player, but if the Canucks are looking at the bigger scheme of things, if they can get a huge return for Jake DeBrusk, yes, you have that trade protection. Yes, he gets some say in where he goes, but Jake DeBrusk is a very interesting one. Not an old forward, someone that fits the timeline if they want to keep him. 29 years old, only 34 at the end of this. A lot of guys don't fall out of their prime until the mid to late 30s, of course, but Jake DeBrusk is a piece. If you don't want to tear it down to the studs, keep him on the team. But if the Canucks want to tear it down and make everyone available, it's going to be interesting on how they navigate this. Now, once again, Jake DeBrusk has looked good since returning to being scratched and put on that top line with Patterson and Carlson. 38 minutes, yes, a small sample size, 81.3% expected goals for percentage, 0.9 expected goals against per game, per 60, 6.16 goals for, 1.42 against. Now with the numbers, of course, you want to see the productions. This could be 200 goals expected per 60, and if they don't score, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, the Canucks are finding a bit of a gel. Patterson having a bounce back is a big reliant factor on the team moving forward. Linus Karlsson looks outstanding, and that's the reason why he got his $2.5 million extension. I love this deal. But with Jake DeBrusk and looking at the future, does he fit the timeline? If you draft Gavin McKenna or Ivan Stenberg, if you bring Jonathan Lecker-Mackey up, you already have Brock Boeser, Conor Garland. Where does Jake DeBrusk fit in that top 6 future of the team, the top 9? This is the team that's getting a lot of young forwards, and which we want, but this is the team that needs to figure out what they're going to do with a lot of their veterans. And with the reports coming around, with him ranked 15th on Chris Johnson's big board, with Darren Dreger coming out saying they think the Canucks want to move him. Now, I do want to say Rick Dhaliwal did go out to say that he did message an agent of Jake DeBrusk, and he was mad for even asking, but of course the agent's not going to say anything, but it's going to get interesting. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Is Jake DeBrusk going to be moved out? Who do you think is safe? Who isn't safe on this team? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments, but that would be it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to go and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to reach 9,000 subscribers, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, but I've been your host, Mark, and take care, Canucks fans.